talking today about how we help pastors and ministry leaders evaluate their jobs so that they can give their job away. First episode was all about defining what a gap is, and a gap is an opportunity. Mm-hmm. It's not defining what is bad, wrong, or broken. That's not what we say a gap is. A gap is an opportunity that allows you to have more capacity, right, and optimize the body of Christ. So we talked about that. Then we talked about a primary ID statement, which just hones in our focus so that we become less diluted and less distracted. Yeah. And so it helps us do ministry with a better focus. And then today, it's all about evaluating now our job so that we can learn what we can give away.
That's right. Well, I think it's important to identify all of what our job is. The problem in ministry, Michelle, is we give ministry roles to people and give them too much to do.
You don't say.
Did I do that to you? By the way, Michelle and I work together here at Christ Fellowship Stewart Campus, and I want to apologize to you in front of all of our audience.
I think at one time I was the connections coordinator and the campus coordinator.
And I had you singing, and I had you pastoring and doing the journey class, and your husband was an unpaid volunteer. But I do think that whether you're in bigger churches or especially smaller churches, we minimize what it takes to lead ministry. It's easy. Just get volunteers. Just be there.
Yeah.
You can do a Bible study on Wednesday night and Sunday. I talked to a lot of, especially the younger generation, the 20s and 30s, and we put them in a ministry role and say, be a youth pastor and a worship leader.
Yes, I think a lot of churches do want a 2-for-1. I just came across this statistic that said, talking about age categories in ministry, and it was from 2023, and it said that pastors between the ages of 40 plus years are 77% of the current ministry population. Between the ages of 30 and 40 are 17% of the ministry population. And get this, between the ages of 20 and 30, 5% of the ministry population, which surprised me. I thought that there would be more younger people going into ministry, but statistics say that that's not the truth.
Yeah, I think that, and I've been guilty of that. As I was able to hire another position or even a volunteer position, I thought, yeah, just organize every Saturday and also be there Wednesday night. And we think it's just 1 or 2 days a week, but it's not the event that is so difficult, Michelle. It's the volunteers, it's the discipleship, yes, it's the structure, the preparation, the evaluation. There's so much more to it. So I wonder if many of you are watching and you're in a dual role on your staff team. That's hard. I'm the children's pastor and I'm doing the production team. Or you work a full-time job and you are a pastor and the church just kind of assumes and expects you to be at every hospital visit, be the theologian, take care of the budget, and raise the team.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
And I think even we have plant churches, like we have these wonderful organizations like ARC, who they're planting churches, and so it's these, you are the be-all for that ministry, and having to be multi-faceted in order to fill all of these different gaps inside of your church that you're trying to build, or to be just a newly hired young adult that's having to fill a dual role. I think I found it in my case that the expectations for the job go way outside of the job description, and we just keep adding without analyzing what we're adding into or what we're giving to these people that are on staff to do ministry.
Well, no wonder that's an awful statistic that you shared about young adult leaders. We need 20s and 30-year-olds, their passion, their relevance in today's society, their gift sets, their anointing. And I spend a lot of time, Michelle, with younger adults or young marrieds with kids and think, now I got this kid and I got two roles, now 2 jobs in one. So talk about how you can help us figure out how we can label those gaps and organize chaos, organize multiple roles.
Yes.
Is it possible?
I believe it is. I found that it was for myself. because I had, like I said, I was doing multiple roles
Yeah.
in a church. And so I felt that pressure and that weight of, oh my goodness, there's a lot weighing on me. I'm responsible for a lot of glass and rubber balls that I'm trying to juggle and bounce. So I found that in order for me to really analyze for myself, I had to see it all at one time. And so the best thing for me was sticky notes. And that's why we have little sticky note icons on the book. But that's the reason, is because I had a sticky note exercise where I put every single thing that I was responsible for, reported for, just needed to know about. I put every single one of those things on its individual sticky note. And after a while, I had a whiteboard full of sticky notes. And it was really good. I think we talk about analyzing.
Yeah.
It was really good for me to see all the things that I was doing, not in a pat myself on the back, I'm proud of you way, but like, wow, the weight of ministry, the things I was stewarding became real and evident when I saw them all in one place. But God even allowed himself to step back and say, this is good. And in that moment, it was good for me to say, this is good. What I'm doing has impact and has relevance. And so for that reason alone, it was a good exercise. But there's more. To take it to the point where I was honing in on what I was supposed to focus on, that like you had said before, like that, where am I going to spend 80% of my time?
Yep.
I needed to label the sticky notes. And so I did with what is a requirement, what is a return, and then what is a reward. And I'll just define for you a little bit about these 3 R's. So a requirement are things that I really don't love to do. I procrastinate doing. They're not on my top 10 favorite things to do. So those were requirements. And I'm sure you did this exercise as well, so you know what's different for you than it is for me. What is a requirement?
What's interesting about that is to give yourself permission not to like parts of ministry.
Oh, that's so true.
That's what you're doing with
without
this.
feeling guilty.
It's all right. It's all right not to complain and be negative. You do what's required, but with a dual role or with a job and a ministry role, it's all right. It's actually wise to identify, this doesn't bring me joy. I don't feel like I'm great at this. So keep going. But that's just
I'm going to hang on that for a little bit,
Yeah.
because the Bible talks about, in Proverbs, he talks about in Ecclesiastics, work at what you delight in.
Ooh, see?
And I think we have permission to delight, or to focus on delighting in our work. And to be honest and say there are things that do not delight us or bring us joy. So that's really good.
Yeah, I think if something is not bringing you joy, it's not a sign of your weakness. It's a sign of your focus.
Yes.
That God is trying to tell you something. That scripture is saying, I'm trying to tell you, this is not where you belong.
Right.
You need to be over here.
Right.
But you have to deal with the requirement. It's part of your role, right?
Yeah, it is in the job description.
Right.
The second thing is return. So these are things that are like an ROI. It comes back to you in a measured increase. And for me, that was like taking a volunteer out for a coffee. That came back to me in a measured increase. Spending time listening to podcasts, reading books, that came back to me in a measured increase. So these are things that should be on its own little sticky note, but they are in that return category. And then the last one is reward. So this is exactly what you were talking about, that sweet spot of your calling and your focus, when you know this is who I am, this is what I do.
I think first of all, the return is so good. You think of ROI, return on investment, that's a business term. You don't want to put money into a retirement account or into a business if it's not going to give you return. That's important, but that's more transactional. The reward, I love the word sweet spot you just said, because I've been in ministry 30 years, And I want to say with such gratefulness to the Lord, my wife and I celebrated 30 years of marriage 2 days ago. You're 31 years, you and Jeff.
Yes.
And I'm in ministry, and I'm thriving, and I'm happy, and I'm healthy. And I think the answer isn't just I've been faithful and I've been obedient, thank God. I've been those things, but I've been favored. I have favor. I enjoy what I'm doing.
Yes.
Both in my ministry role at Christ Fellowship, but you and I are doing this. This is joyful to me. So I think that's the secret, is deal with the requirements, understand the power of returns, but spend most of your time in the reward.
Yes.
Am I saying that right?
Yes,
Come on.
exactly. And I think that opens up the divine opportunities. When you can know who you are, know how you're wired, know where your time should be allocated, that allows more opportunity for God to give you inside of those areas that are your reward. Not to say that there's always going to be things that you have to do that don't delight you. And God uses those things to craft our skill or refine us. But just know that you have permission to love what you do. You have permission to identify what brings you joy and to spend the majority of your time in those things.
Well, that's so good. I think what she's saying to you, if you're listening to us, she's giving you permission not just to do ministry out of obligation, but for satisfaction.
Yes.
You can actually enjoy this. You enjoy this. I enjoy this. Now, we're not going to go through the whole teaching here, although you have worked with many teams with the stickies and the whiteboards. You did it with us.
Yes.
You got me to do it. And Michelle, she created, this is hers, it's not mine. I just kind of drafted off of it. But the last insight I want to point to, and I didn't realize this till you pointed this, that my requirement actually is someone else's reward.
Yes.
It's not like, well, I'm just going to give your job away. I mean, talk about that. Like, that was insightful to me. How could the thing that, for instance, I'll set you up here. Like, I'm not administrative. Mm-hmm. No surprise there. I'm a piano player. I'm a people person. I'm vision. I'm an author. I don't want to do administration. And so doing expense reports and data processing, I slip my wrists. My eyes glaze over. I procrastinate until I do that. But I found out there are some people that love that.
Yes.
So talk about like how my requirement actually could be someone else's reward. Is that possible?
I think that's where, in working with churches, that's been the question that comes up most often.
Yep.
Like, after I identified my requirement, I figured if I don't want to do it, nobody's going to want to do it.
Correct.
So I feel bad asking someone, let me just let you off the hook right there. Because in my experience, for every requirement, there is someone who cannot wait to get out of bed and do that very thing.
No way. I don't believe you.
It's true.
Not administration.
It's true. I found someone who enjoyed, when I was a campus coordinator, I talk about it in the book, that I had to wash tablecloths. Like, it was part of my job was to prepare the rooms for events, and part of that was taking home all of the tablecloths and washing them. Well, I found someone who loved to do that, who brought them back all neatly folded.
Wow.
Put them back on the shelf. I was hesitant to ask somebody to do that until I realized that there was someone who loved to do laundry and couldn't wait for me to give her a bag full of dirty tablecloths. But it was just one of those things that whenever we're willing to let go of the control of our job and thinking that we have to do all to be all, that's when God opens up these amazing opportunities to partner with people and to watch them have joy. Is just, there's nothing like it.
That's so encouraging. I hope that encourages you if you're listening, that there are people that they're very different than you, because God creates us all with unique primary ID statements.
Yeah.
Right? That they love to do what you don't, and it becomes their reward. And you're giving people a gift by saying, would you come and partner with me and do this together? Because what I've learned is I've been frustrated to try to get people to do what I love. and they don't want to. Like, I love recruiting teams of volunteers. I love it. I like to rally people. It's fun. I love it. They love it. And so I'm like, go get some volunteers. And they look at me. It's like, it's painful for them to go talk to people and ask to recruit. So I love to recruit. The other thing I don't mind doing is initiative. I don't mind taking a risk. And let's start like this podcast. I don't mind the messiness and the risk of, let's go. And some people are like, I could never start something. They want to talk and think through. So I've just learned, what am I and what am I not? And rather than try to make people do what I want them to do, I pay attention. I love what you said about analyzing. Mm-hmm. As busy as you are with multiple roles or with a job and a church, you have to be able to take time, work time, to stop and analyze. As you were talking about that, Michelle, one of the leaders I love and you love is Lance Witt, Pastor Lance Witt. And he says in his book, High Impact Teams, he says the faster the ministry leader goes and the bigger their ministry gets, the more the leader has to take time to slow down, get alone, and observe and evaluate and ask questions. Mm-hmm. And that's counterintuitive to, I got 2 roles, 2 places to be. Well, on a Monday, you and I used to do this, or you and I and a couple of leaders, we would force ourselves on a Tuesday morning before the day we got going, and for an hour, prime thinking time with a whiteboard and lots of coffee.
Yes, always coffee.
We were asking questions on a global scale. What's happening? Slowing the game down. So this return reward requirement is a process that you talk about in the book.
Yes.
That we can help you with.
Yes. We say that evaluation is a precursor to action. That's good. It's not productive for you to just act without evaluating. It'll end up being messy and chaotic. Yep. But to sit and evaluate and analyze before you add anything additionally, that is wise and prudent, and it allows God to even make you more effective. Yep. That quiet time of just analyzing and evaluating.
It's good.
In fact, I know this is a double negative, but you do not have time to sit and evaluate your levels of joy or weariness or contentment or burnout or fulfillment or frustration. Like, if you don't analyze that, then you won't know where to focus your time. Right.
That's so true. I used to be, because I'm such a high initiative, fast pace, I'm kind of a ready, shoot, aim. And then so when I would shoot, I wouldn't always aim right. And so I've had to slow down and learn what you're talking about. And you did that with our team with this exercise, which I can't wait for. You need to buy our book and read through it. And also you need to email or text Michelle on Facebook or Instagram, because you've done that with so many teams of going through this process. I've seen people who didn't just go through the process with the sticky notes and the boards and you color code them and do it, but they get so joyful that I can give these things away and I can do these things that give me a return on investment, the productive. Yes. And you're saying I get to do the things that I love to do? Yes. Like you love to read, you love to study. Your favorite author is not Matt Pilot, it's Mark Batterson.
It is.
Who, by the way, I know Mark Batterson. In fact, he actually endorsed our book.
He did.
I knew him in Bible college. Yeah, he's a famous
kind of amazing.
author.
That's like the best thing ever.
So she loves Mark. So, but because you loved books and deep insight, you would take your top leaders over in that room for a monthly Bible study, and it filled you, but it filled them, and then they did all the ministry for you. It was beautiful. So you actually giving yourself permission, Michelle, to do what you love with the people that you love, and then they fulfilled the return and the requirement of the ministry.
Mm-hmm. I think it was just freeing to know that I didn't have to procrastinate or feel like dread about those parts of my job that I didn't enjoy doing, that I had a partner who I could give these things to her, and she did a lot of my requirements fell in that admin role. So I could give it to her. She came in on Thursday mornings just with a bounce in her step. I couldn't wait to get started on these things. And she and I working together was like fulfilling for both of us. So I get a little bit of like, oh, is this going to work? It has worked. It's
Oh,
worked
yeah.
for not just me, not just you, but so many people that we've shared this concept with. And working with churches and watching them do this whiteboard sticky note exercise is one of the best things about when I do consulting with a church. It's like one of my favorite exercises, because they get to, first of all, appreciate this perspective
Yep.
of this is what I do and it is good. But now an even broader perspective of now who can I invite to partner with me? How can I multiply the joy by bringing more people into my job?
But that's so good. I love every chapter of our book, but this exercise, we call it the RRR. It's the
Yes.
requirement, return, reward, the sticky notes, which our whole book is based on, the little gap sticky note. I think it's my favorite exercise you do. And so if you're a ministry leader or a pastor or a staff member, like we have both been, both as volunteers and as staff, and you're a children's pastor and you're the missions person, you're the worship and the youth. I don't know who thought that'd be a good idea. The way I was a musician, we don't think like youth pastors, so it just doesn't work. But if you're realizing what we're doing, what I'm doing, it's too much, the job description's untenable. We say at Christ Fellowship on a job description, we'll write it out, and then at the end we say, and other duties is assigned. And that's saying we're going to give you more. And I understand the servant heart leader, but if you want to be effective and be joyful in ministry, there is a better way. And it's about give your job away. So we have a website, giveyourjobaway.com, where we're going to have our resources on. We're on Amazon.com for Audible book. We actually read our book together, printed book, ebook like Kindle. And we're on YouTube. And just Facebook us, Instagram us, find us there. And there's a Give Your Job Away, right, on Instagram?
Yes,
Right.
it's Give Your Job Away, and it's Give Your Job Away. That's the title.
Reach
of it.
out to us, and in any way we can help you and serve you. And keep on watching for more episodes.
Yes, absolutely.